Motivational Monday, being intentional about what you became aware about as far as, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. I'll give an example of my work. When I started working in Connecticut, my family and I lived there a few years ago. When I was looking for work, I got the work very easily with, training at this gym that was not far from where we lived. And I remember getting the job and I was like, man, I became aware. I'm like, this is not hard for me to do, like as far as getting this work, teaching these classes. And I started to think to myself, I'm like, man, it's not challenging. And that feeling was like sticking with me and I was aware of it, but I was not being intentional about doing anything about it. When we moved back to the South, I was like, I need to branch. I need to do something different. So I said, okay, let me venture out into something that I'd never done before. So I got into some work with children, loved it. I, was able to hire people, do things I never done before, working at this daycare facility, and I really, really enjoyed it. And a part of me was like, you know what? Maybe I'll leave the health and wellness world and not do, that anymore and just work with kids the way that I am in this new directorial role that I was in. And some things transpired. Bottom line is I was no longer there anymore. And I was like, okay, let me try going back into the health and wellness field again. Got the job very easily again. And I was like, it happened again. This is not hard for me to get a job in this arena. And then at the job that I was at, I was like, I started feeling like maybe I should work for myself. I was already aware that it wasn't hard for me to get work, but I was not being intentional about it. I was like, maybe I should, step out and go for it. And so I started to become very, like, my mind was thinking about it. I was just thinking about it a lot. And I'm not kidding, friend. Things just lined up for it. Like, I started to think, okay, I'm gonna learn. I remember, like, we had a meeting at the work that I was at, and I intentionally said, I'm gonna learn from these people that own this gym. I'm gonna learn from you guys. I'm gonna be very intentional about breathing them in and how they do things. And, you can learn a lot from people. You can learn what to do, and you can also learn what not to do. And it's a great thing. And I'm incredibly grateful for the work that I had before, because I learned so much as far as how to handle things, how to manage things, how to communicate. And it helped me. And because I was intentional about learning and breathing in where I was at, things lined up and opened up to where when the opportunity came to start my business, I was like, okay, I'm going to go for it. And things just lined up. I had someone help me say, hey, I'm going to sit you down and tell you everything I've done. I have had great mentors and it's been wonderful. But that intention about, I'm going to learn from where I am right now. I'm going to be intentional about learning and breathing this in. And that's what I did. And it was great. So be very intentional about your time, what you're doing, how you do it, who you're doing it with. And you'll see that things really start to open up. Like it's just literally like the scales, like Paul says, falls off your eyes. Like the scales will just start to fall off your eyes as far as where you're going and what you're doing. It's a beautiful thing. So we talked about awareness very briefly. And then today we're talking about intention. And I think there's even more to talk about with intention. So we'll have intention part 2 next week. All right. Love you, friend.